This is chapter 3 of 6 of Miracle of the Stomach Ants. I'm going to try to keep having one chapter out every weekend until all 6 chapters are out. If you haven't listened to the first 2 chapters, you might want to do that.
It's still raining when he reaches the next travel plaza. He does not piss or shit because his body does not have enough water to form either. He chugs half a Gatorade and then immediately vomits that up, and chugs the other half and vomits that up too. He buys a liter of water, and sip by careful sip empties it into his protesting stomach over the course of an hour. He is exhausted. He can feel nothing but exhaustion, physical, mental, and emotional. When the water reaches his bowels, they start to move again. He hobbles himself over to the bathroom, shits, and sits there until his legs fall asleep. Then he orders something called a rodeo burger, and paces while he eats it. He cannot finish it. His stomach is a confused ball of pain, bloated, burning, and cramping. That spike of dull pain that reaches the back and makes it hard to breathe. It's cold in here. He walks out under the awning to watch the rain. He thinks about having a cigarette, decides not to, and lights one anyways. The rain is no longer quite so heavy, but it's steady. It's only 8 o'clock, but it's already dark because of the storm. The air is cool. When he finishes his cigarette, he thinks he can eat again. So leaning against the wall, he finishes his lukewarm rodeo burger, then leans against the wall as he has another cigarette. He slumps down on the concrete and falls into a deep and dreamless sleep. He wakes to pain in all of the joints on the left side of his body from sleeping on concrete, and to the familiar pain in his stomach and in his back and in his throat. There's also a strange tickle in his throat and in his sinus, and he can't remember if it was there before. The air feels incredible. The rain brought down the humidity, and it's early enough in the day that the sun hasn't had a chance to turn that rain into new humidity. He walks in aimless, meandering circles in the parking area and along the sidewalk, more grateful for this freedom than he ever has been for anything else in his life. For 5 more days and 5 more nights he stays there, nursing himself back to health as best he can with fast food and with bottled water. He tries to drink coffee, but it hurts too much, and he has to throw out half the cup. The tickling in his throat and his sinus gets more intense every time he eats, as though whatever is causing it suddenly becomes frantic every time food is introduced. He thinks maybe it is something in the rodeo burgers, that he's having some kind of reaction to some chemical or preservative or something. He hopes that's what it is. Every night he goes to sleep, propped up against the wall. The benches there are the kinds with middle rails, and he expects someone to say something. Every night he goes into a deep and dreamless sleep, and he wakes up and nobody says anything. And on the morning of the 6th day, he leaves. It is noon when he reaches Albany. He finds a Walmart and buys 2 pairs of basketball shorts, one red, one blue, and a pack of wife beaters. 20 pairs of socks and several large packs of baby wipes. In the handicap stall, he cleans his body as best he can with the baby wipes before putting on the red shorts and one of the new wife beaters. He uses so many wipes that it takes him multiple trips to get them all to the trash. He has a falafel wrap from a place by St. Rose called Halal Food, with fries and a tabbouleh salad that is unbelievably good. So it's not something in the rodeo burgers that's causing this mysterious tickling. It is a weird, distinct feeling. It's not one, or even several spots of irritation. It's almost like... Can't think about that right now. Can't think about anything right now. Will he ever get home? Will he ever see anyone he knows again? Stop. Just stop. Please. Did he even tell anyone where he was going? Or even that he was going? Probably by now Ty's noticed that he's gone. It'd be hard not to notice if your roommate went missing. Who has he told by now? Has he told anyone? Does Danny know by now? What can they do? What can anyone do? Ty and Danny would know better than to call the police. Most people he knows would by now. Who wouldn't? His parents. His parents don't know better than to call the police. Has anyone told his parents? Does anyone even know how to get a hold of them? Danny knows where they live from when they were in high school, but would she tell them? Probably not. Nobody is going to think to look for him in upstate New York, why would they? Unless his parents found out he was missing and called the police and they're searching for his license plate, in which case it's just a matter of time before they close in on him and take away his angel and throw him in prison. Shut up. What can he do? Nothing, you know that. All you can do is trust the angel, and that if the angel doesn't want you to be captured, you will not be captured. Angels do not abandon you unless you abandon them. On his way out of town, he finds a Burlington and buys a red Jansport. The eyes of the Ice Princess look at him proudly as he transfers her from his spare tire compartment to the red backpack. Wearing, then, this red backpack, he feels safe. Wearing it, he feels defeated. Wearing it, he calls every hotel and motel in the city that Google knows about, and he can't find one that will take cash. So he finds a tobacco shop, buys a 1-pound bag of gambler tobacco and 4 books of top papers, and he gets back on the highway at about 7 o'clock. The sun sets at 7:30. The brown stain on the passenger seat is gone. The ants have torn apart the stained upholstery and small chunks of the cushion below and carried it somewhere, presumably to be eaten. Where there was a greasy stain, there is now a jagged hole revealing bug-eaten yellow foam. Slightly behind that, buckled into place, through the red Jansport backpack, through the child's backpack they gave him, and through whatever abomination they hid in that, the angel gazes at him adoringly. It makes him feel like there is some great and beautiful light on this dark highway, and it is shining on him, and he alone can't see it. There's an old-fashioned truck stop on the border of Massachusetts called Canaan Truck Stop Ambest, and he reaches it about 8 o'clock. This unsettles him profoundly. Inside, he orders a roast beef sub and asks the lady working there if she could tell him how to get to the Mass Turnpike. He tells her that his phone is dead and will not take a charge, and that he is a piss-poor navigator. She is not condescending when she tells him to take 22 to 90 to 84, then back to 90, and that he should see signs for it as soon as he gets to 90, and then gives him a sandwich. Outside there is a picnic table, and in the humid but cooling air, with his angel by his side, he eats his sandwich with a bag of store-made potato chips and a bottle of Gatorade. It's the second decent meal he's had in at least a week, and it makes him sleepy. So he goes inside and asks the lady working if it's okay if he sleeps in his car. And he tells her that he's got a lot of driving to do and no money for a hotel or anything like that. And it's been a crazy week, and she cuts him off telling him that she won't try to stop him from sleeping in his car if that's what he's asking. He decides, fuck it, and buys himself a 6-pack of Sierra Nevadas, and sits at the table and drinks 2 of them. Then he lies down in the back seat of his car, and he curls up, and he holds the backpack with his entire body, like a teddy bear or a lover. They are dragging you like a bird drags a worm from its hole. You are bound with handcuffs and ankle cuffs, and they are taking you away from your home. They heap salivating threats upon you with every breath they take. You ask them what is happening, and they tell you that you are a murderer. Fucking cops. You are struggling to get upright on the sidewalk, and it's hard because your hands are cuffed behind your back. You ask if you can have some clothing, and they tell you after you answer their questions, and you wait for them to ask. And in line for your trial, it is cold, so you ask the guard if you can have some clothes. And she tells you after your trial. And your hands are still cuffed behind your back, and your ankles are still cuffed together. When they call you up, the judge asks you why you are naked, and you say that you were naked when they dragged you out of bed. And the judge asks you who dragged you out of bed. And you tell him the police dragged you out of bed. And why did the police drag you out of bed? They said I was a murderer. And are you? No. I don't believe you. You don't know what to say to that. With your hands cuffed in front of you, and the orange jumpsuit neatly folded on your arms, they parade you through the prison. And if you put your hands over your genitals, you will lose the only clothes you have forever. So you stare ahead, and you try to dissociate. The hole they throw you in is wet. Your feet sink in the clay. For a long time you struggle to get into your jumpsuit, but your hands and feet are still cuffed. When you give up is when you notice the ants. They are burrowing into the dirt in front of you. You trust them. You believe they know the way out. With your cuffed hands you paw away. The ants have already aerated the soil, so it crumbles easily. It feels good under your fingernails. It is wholesome and full of life. You are into your waist now. You continue to tunnel. The soil is moist and rich. The air is thick with nutrients. Your whole body is here now, under the earth, protected by the earth. The roots that grow and wrap around you, the insects exploring your skin. The tunnel collapses and the earth embraces you. You are safe now. You are in the angel's embrace, and it is the embrace of God, and it will never be otherwise. As he sleeps, the ants harvest his sweat and steal food from his stomach. He is covered in them when he wakes up, and he does not brush them off. They love the heat. The air is thick with trapped sunlight and the stench of sickly sweat. The ants love the hot, wet, pungent air. The human is subdued by it and is able, only slowly, to force himself upright. As he walks into the truck stop, the lady doesn't say anything, but she looks at him long enough that he says, "Those beers last night were a mistake." "Was that you sleeping in your car with the windows up?" "Yeah." "Can't be doing that when it's hot like this. It's dangerous." "Yeah." "I'm serious. I was getting ready to call an ambulance on you." "Yeah." "Can't be doing that." "Well, if it's any consolation, I feel like shit." "Yeah, I bet you do." He buys 2 liters of water and 1 liter of Gatorade, a bag of beef jerky and a BLT. Sitting at the table outside with the backpack in his lap, he eats and drinks all of this as slowly as he can. It takes him about 2 hours. In the bathroom, he takes a shit, jerks off, and cleans himself off as best he can with the baby wipes before changing his clothes again. Then, with his backpack on and his dirty clothing rolled up under his arm, he buys a Monster Rehab, and the woman says, "Hey, you're still here?" "Yeah." "Hey, you better make sure you throw out those beer bottles from last night. You can still get a DUI in New York if you got empty beer bottles in your car, even if you're not drunk." "Yeah." "I think it's the same in Mass. You going to Mass?" "Yeah, Connecticut, actually. Actually, you wouldn't happen to know how to get to Torrington, Connecticut from here, would you?" My phone shit the bed, and I don't remember how to... I remember how to get to the Mass Turnpike, but I don't remember how to, Where you said? Torrington. No, I don't know where that is, sorry. I could tell you how to get to Hartford. My sister lives there. Would it help if I told you how to get to Hartford? Yeah, I think I could get there from Hartford. Yeah, you gotta get on the Mass Turnpike, then get on 81, then... Oh, wait, I know. Why don't I just... My phone still works. Why don't I just look up how to get... where you said? That'd be great. Torrington. Thank you. In his car, with directions written in looping but more or less legible cursive, on paper ripped out of a slightly greasy spiral notebook, he hesitates. Since the truck accident... Accident? Whatever. Since that truck was destroyed, time and space seem to have somehow gone back to normal. It took him about an hour to get from Albany to almost Mass. If anything, he's making good time now. He's had 3 consecutive decent meals. His bowel movements are almost regular. He hasn't been seriously dehydrated in over a week. All of these things should be encouraging. Why is he so afraid? Is it because of the dream he had last night? He thinks about the dream. He thinks about the cool, rich soil, and he thinks about the earth like a mother embracing him. That's not why he's afraid. Why is he afraid? His limbs are relatively strong now. His bowels barely hurt. His stomach only hurts between meals. The sweat on his skin is mostly neither old nor putrid. The clothes he is wearing, he put on clean clothes this morning. He is keenly aware of how much he has to lose. But you can't just live at the truck stop. He buckles the backpack into the passenger seat. He says, "I'm trusting you." For all the fucking good that does. As he takes the exit to 8 South, he notices the storm clouds, thick and pregnant, roiling slowly across the sky. Gradually, they overtake the sun. The air is now gray and so thick it won't move through his open windows. It stays like this for about a half hour. Sweat slowly beads on his face and his arms, and the ants busy themselves with licking it up. Route 8 is one of those winding New England roads that are so pretty when you have a GPS to handle the navigation for you. He is watching the sides of the roads for signs to stay on 8, afraid he will miss them and wind up hopelessly lost and tangled in the Massachusetts country roads. This place was colonized by and for people who only planned to go to like 4 places in their entire lives, and even then without cars. Obviously he knows that. He'll have to get something to eat in the next town he goes through. The ants will steal that too, of course. Such fucking bullshit. Jesus fucking Christ. Why is any of this necessary? Under his breath he says, "What the fuck?" And then clamps and clenches his jaw before he has a chance to say, "Am I doing?" He glances over at the Angel, imperious in its hiding place. He looks in his rearview mirror and he doesn't like how close that Jeep is. They're not tailgating per se, but he doesn't like it. He pulls over and turns on his hazard lights. The Jeep slows uncertainly and then speeds past him. 4 more cars pass the same way before he pulls back onto the road. Suddenly he can't ignore the ants on his arms and on his face and under his clothes, collecting sweat, their little legs prickling, tickling across his skin, just below the threshold of pain. They were really starting to piss him off. His eyes fall on one on the ball of the thumb of his right hand. It stops its work and looks up at him. He shakes his hand and it stays. He blows on it, and with its antennae back, it hunches down and does not let go. He slaps it. The pain is immediate and excruciating. It is the pain of crushed bones. He slams on his brakes and clenches his eyes shut. He does not feel the pain in his own body. He feels the pain of the ant. He feels it clearly and completely, every bleeding broken bone, every pulped organ, as the ant twitches feebly against the last few seconds of its life. When the twitching stops, the pain subsides to a dull but poignant throb next to his right hand. He opens his eyes and looks around. Realizes that he should have his hazards on, turns them on, and then pulls back onto the road and turns them off. When the rain starts, he is gripping the wheel at 10 and 2, clenching his fists on the steering wheel and clenching his jaw, just trying to focus on the road and just trying to watch for signs to stay on 8, because he really doesn't want to get lost right now. He just really wants to go home. Now going 40 miles an hour with his windshield wipers on full speed and the roads beginning to flood, he passes a sign that says, "Welcome to Connecticut." Under his breath he says, "Yeah, fuck you too." He decides he will get pizza in the next town he comes to. If he can't find a place that does slices, he will get a whole damn pizza. Might just do that anyways. Sausage, pepper, and onion. Fuck it. Right now he is pulled over by the side of the flooding road. He can see nothing but rain. Even with his windshield wipers on full speed, he cannot see the hood of his car. He does not know how long he has been sitting here, nor does he know how long the ants have been gone. He does not hear other cars go by. He only hears rain. He can only sit here with his hazards on and wait for it to subside. What is the angel doing? Are the ants hiding? Are they done with him? Do they know something he doesn't know? Maybe the angel is showing mercy. He doesn't know. Maybe all the shit it's done is just, establishing dominance. Didn't that guy say angels are the fingers of God? Of course it would have to. It needs his reverence, and maybe now that it has that, maybe that was all it needed from him. It probably doesn't want to make him suffer, but let's be honest, he's never worshipped anything or anyone in his adult life. Before this past week, he didn't think he was even capable of worshipping anything, let alone some unknown object in a mysterious children's backpack. Well, he worships it now, and now the driving has gone more or less back to normal, and he's probably less than an hour away from home, and the ants are gone, and it's demonstrated its power to him, and now it doesn't have to. It can show him mercy as long as he continues to. Was that the slamming of a car door? Who's getting out of their car right now when it's pissing rain like this? He got out of his car in rain like this. Maybe whoever it is has an angel of their own. He has no idea how common this kind of thing is. Maybe someone just likes rain. No, that's fucking bullshit. Visibility is completely gone, and anyone who's just been sitting in a car should be able to see that. There's liking rain, but getting out of your car right now is dangerous. Fuck it. Why should he care if someone is getting out of their car in this? You know why you should care. With his Swiss Army knife open in his hand, and the angel on his back, he climbs out of his car. He sees the orange hazard lights of some construction vehicle down behind him a ways, and someone shouts, "Drop your weapon!" and "Get on the ground!" And he can't see them clearly in this rain, but he sees that they have guns, and that these guns are pointed at him. He drops his Swiss Army knife, and lowers himself to the ground. His mind has gone completely blank. They move in. 2 of them grab his arms, and 4 of them grab his legs. He cannot see them well because they are behind him, and they are wearing masks. Something closes around his ankles. They might be cuffs. He does not struggle because he does not know what they are going to do to him. His mind is still completely blank. He hears the flick of a spring-assisted knife, and a 7th person cuts the straps of his backpack. He struggles to free his arms. His legs kick at open air. His head rolls from side to side, trying to bite the people holding his arms. He hits his forehead on the pavement. His mind is still completely blank. He vomits, and the vomit is immediately watered down and spread across the front of his shirt. When the 7th person has finished removing his backpack, he is hoisted up onto something. It is a stretcher, and they handcuff each of his hands to the individual railings. As they raise him to the back of the ambulance, he sees a red pickup truck. The man who comes in back of the ambulance just before they close the doors is also wearing a face mask. He is old, and has strangely friendly eyes. He is carrying a tablet, and he boots it up and says, "My name is Gabriel Vasquez. Tower agent number 2A as in apple, 9537D as in dog." The paramedic is securing his right arm to the railing of the stretcher with no fewer than 4 zip ties. Gabriel continues. In a few moments, the ambulance is going to start moving, after which we will have about 45 minutes until you are taken to the location of your procedure. Please let me finish. I have a whole spiel, and it's easier for both of us if you don't interrupt me. I am sure you have plenty of questions. Everyone in your situation does, but I am not authorized to answer any of your questions until you answer mine. Do you understand? The paramedic says, "Hold still, please," and does something to Doc's right arm. Says, "Ow, Jesus, what the fuck are you doing?" And Gabriel says, "He's setting up an IV." What fucking IV? What for? What's in it? I am not authorized to answer any of your questions until after you've answered mine. What fucking procedure? What the fuck? Who? Listen to me. I am not authorized to answer any of your questions until after you've answered mine. And says nothing. And Gabriel says, "Do you understand?" Okay. Is that a yes? Yes. Good. How long have you been in proximity with the entity? Entity? The entity that was in your backpack. This is not the time to play dumb. Listen, I want to help you, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you survive the next 12 hours. The more you cooperate with me now, the better your chances are. How long have you been in the proximity of the entity? Says nothing, and then he says, I don't know, a week or two? It's hard to tell. The ambulance begins moving. Gabriel says, have you experienced any space-time distortions? What? During the past 2 weeks, have you experienced any distortions in space and time? What? Yeah, I guess you could put it that way. Have you experienced nausea, abdominal pains, or inexplicable hunger? Sobs. All three? Nods. Okay. These next questions might be difficult for you. But I must reiterate, your life not only might, but absolutely does depend on your answering me honestly, okay? Stifling another sob, says, okay. I'm serious. Yeah, okay. Pulls himself hurriedly together. Have you seen, or thought you had seen, small white worms in your vomit or stool? They are sometimes described as resembling maggots. No. Are you certain? Yeah. Have you seen, or thought you had seen, any ants or termites on your person or in your car? No. Are you certain? I might have gotten some ants on me when I was sleeping at the rest stop, but in my car, no. Okay. Last question. Do you recognize the name? No. Gabriel makes some notes in his tablet. Says, oh wait, isn't he... He trails off. It's hard to think. Gabriel says, okay, that's all the questions I have for you. We have about a half hour left. I will try to be as brief and informative as I can. And nobody says anything. And Gabriel says, whenever you're ready. That was my name, wasn't it? Yes, that's correct. Why didn't I recognize my own name? I'm afraid we know very little about the entity, but that is one of the symptoms of prolonged exposure. Exposure to what? Who the fuck are you? And what the hell is in this IV? I'll answer those questions in order. The entity to which you've been exposed appears to be some kind of parasite, though that's a bit misleading because it does not conform with many known laws of biology, and we aren't certain if it's even alive. They appear to work by proximity, to somehow make alterations within the human body, which cause or allow some kind of insect, usually described as looking like ants or termites, to colonize their victim's stomach. The exact nature and reason for these insects is unclear. The entities themselves are worshipped as gods by the nameless cult with whom I believe you have been acquainted. I, like I said, am Gabriel Vasquez, an agent of the Tower Institute for Human Supremacy, a clandestine organization founded in 1974 to maintain human dominance over the Earth. And right now there's nothing in that IV but saline solution, but how are you feeling? Are you feeling drowsy? Are you having trouble paying attention to what I'm saying? No, I'm afraid we're going to have to give you a stimulant. He nods at the paramedic, who starts to attach another line to his IV. Says, "What? No, Yes, I'm afraid we have to. If you fall asleep or lose consciousness, it could be very dangerous for all of us." The whiteness of the light in the ambulance is suddenly unbearable. Zip ties dig into his flesh, and he can't stop struggling against them. His first thoughts are a frantic, indiscernible haze of panic and overstimulation. Jesus fucking Christ, what the fuck? I'm afraid it was necessary. Fuck you! Listen to me. He's got a weird tickling in his asshole. Maybe it's the stimulants, but it's unlike anything he's ever felt before. He says, "Fuck you!" Listen to me. He is suddenly aware of ants crawling out of his anus, squeezing under his belt, and making a line across his lower back. He says, "What?" It is important that you understand that we don't want to make you suffer any more than is necessary, or to die if it can be avoided. The ants are now making their way across his shoulder blade and towards his armpit. He says, "What are you going to do to me?" Now, I want you to think about everything you've been through for the last 2 weeks. The ants are making their way down the back of his right arm. He says, "Don't you fucking use my name. You have no idea what I've been through." I don't pretend to know what you've been through. Fuck you! But we are here to remove the entity that put... You have no fucking idea! Of course not. I can't imagine what the entity put you through. The ants have reached the IV needle and are congregating around it. He says, "You look at me. Look me in the fucking eyes and tell me what you're gonna do to me." And to his credit, Tower Agent Gabriel Vasquez looks him in the eyes as he says, "The first alteration the entity makes to the body is a tumor-like mass, which somehow develops into an egg sac. If the egg sac is still intact, we perform a partial gastrectomy. If, as I suspect, it has already hatched, we perform a stomach transplant. How are you going to do surgery on me without me losing consciousness? I'm afraid this next part may be hard to hear. Oh God. They're going to treat you with tetrodotoxin. Oh God, please fucking help me. It causes total muscular paralysis. I'm afraid you will have to remain conscious. Oh fucking God, please fucking help me, please God. Wait, what's... You look at my fucking face! Oh Jesus! As the ants finish biting through the IV line, blood and stimulants and saline solution pump onto the floor together. As the paramedic scrambles to replace the IV line, and Gabriel lunges to hold him down, falls almost immediately asleep.